In 1923, a young, strapping Victor Bengard wooed a young and beautiful Nell Watson and took her hand in marriage. 3 short years later, Victor and Nell were blessed with their first son, Victor Jr. While the country spun out of control as the Great Depression struck, Victor and Nell continued to build their small family with a second son, Philip, born in 1930. In 1933, the same year that ground was broken on the Golden Gate Bridge, Nell gave birth to a perfect young woman, our guest of honor, Doris Angela Bengard. As the country pulled itself up out of its Great Depression, the Bengard family began to enter into a more personal time of sadness. In 1941, the country enters World War II, and the Bengards, Nell in particular, faces the worst. Her middle son, Philip, passes away at 11 years old from a ruptured appendix. Her oldest, Victor Jr., joins the Navy to fight in the war, and in 1944, just before the end of the war, she has to bury her husband of 21 years, who suffered stomach cancer as a result of mustard gas from the First World War. The years following World War II proved to be much brighter for the Bengard family. Victor Jr. returns from war and marries Anna Mae Fritzie and immediately starts a family. Our young and beautiful Doris also ties the knot with Stanley Dack. The baby boomer years were fruitful for the Bengard and Dack families and the U.S. at large. Doris finds herself the aunt to 9 nieces and nephews, courtesy of big brother Victor Jr. Not to be bested by Victor Jr., Doris and Stan start their family in 1957. Following the Bengard legacy, the first child born was a boy, Thomas Dack. Victoria, the only girl out of what would be eventually 4, followed shortly after in 1958. The world at this point has changed. Our former allies in World War II have become our arch enemies. John F. Kennedy has been elected, and the civil rights movement has just started to move into full swing. The United States has entered into an unprecedented time of freedom, liberation, and conflict. It is into this world that Doris and Stan bring their 3rd child, a boy, Stephen Dack. Stephen was born on January 21st, 1962. Soon, Doris's family will be faced with another challenge, moving from their home in Westmont, Illinois, to the fast-paced Southern California. Packing up their belongings in a car, the family of 5 head west. New lives are established, and there is again hope in the world. The space race is in full swing, and the national sentiment is that we as Americans can do anything we set our minds to. 1969 proves this with the Apollo 11 NASA mission placing men on the moon. 1969 also welcomes the 4th and final of Doris's children, David Andrew.
The 70s were generally rough for Doris and her small family. David was entering school for the first time. Tom's 18, going to college. Vicky's 17, Stephen's 13. Keeping 3 teenagers and a kindergartner fed, clothed, in school, and out of trouble was a full-time job, and a job well done. Doris entered a new phase of adult life in the early 1980s. Her older brother, Victor Jr., passed away in 1981 at the young age of 55. Cirrhosis of the liver due to radiation exposure from the atomic bomb testing at the Bikini Atoll. Her eldest sons had been married off, with Tom marrying Donna Pecorino and Steve marrying Gwen Metzler both in 1984. As is often the case, God eases the blow of aging with the cure-all for aches, pains, and melancholy, grandkids. In the summer of 1984, Nicole Rochelle is born to Steve and Gwen, and Disney Grandma is born. As a grandmother, Doris honed her skills on Nicole in preparation for the next 20 years of grandchildren. Summer of 1991, Stephen and Gwen bring Kyle Michael into the world, about the same time that the world becomes truly connected with the World Wide Web. In 1992, Tom and Donna have their first and only child, Alexa Victoria. In the early 90s, and with what must have been a sigh of relief, her youngest son, David, meets his beautiful bride-to-be, Susan. In 1994, David and Susan tie the knot. 2 short years later, Doris's mother, Nell, passes away at the blessed age of 95. 2001 brings the tragedy of the World Trade Center attack. Never in her life has Doris witnessed an attack on American soil. Lots of foreign wars, but nothing this close to home. Fortunately, 2001 also brings 3 bundles of great joy. Twins, Madison and Morgan from Steve and Gwen, and Riley from David and Susan. 5 grandkids equals 1 happy Disney grandma. 2003 and 5 bring even more joy to Doris. David and Susan have 2 more children, Brendan and Cassidy. Time marches on. At the present, Doris is the proud mother of 4 successful children, aunt to 9, grandmother to 8.5. Nicole, the eldest grandchild, married Matt Skogmo in September of 2007. In her lifetime, the U.S. has participated in 6 major global wars. Gas has gone from 10 cents a gallon to as high as $4.50. Cars have gone from luxury to commodity, from gas to electric. Televisions went from dream to reality, from crude, small, and only black and white to inexpensive, luxurious, and high-definition color. Doris, Mom, Grandma, what an awesome life you have lived thus far. We celebrate you, thank God for you, and wish you many more birthdays and adventures to come. Happy birthday, Mom.